Thank you for joining us on the program. I am Folashade Ogurinde. The journey to digitize the Naira began in 2017, and 4 years after, Nigerians are ready to take digital payment to the next level. Given the rise in the use of digital economy, CBN's decision follows a global trend in which over 85% of central banks are now considering adopting digital currencies in their countries. A week ago, the Apex Bank announced the formal engagement of the global fintech company Bit Inc. as a technical partner for its digital currency, which is due to be unveiled later in the year. In the light of these new developments, are Nigerians ready for this e-Naira? Joining me now to discuss this further is economic analyst Kalu Aja. Thank you so much for joining us. Now, I find the idea of an electronic Naira quite interesting. Can you take us through how you imagine this system will work?
Hi, Shade. How you doing? Thanks for having me here. Just to make it a little bit simple, imagine you wanted to send money to Nigeria. So you would maybe go buy a card, maybe a GSM card to send to someone. You would take Naira and buy the card. Then you send the card digits to someone's phone. The person takes that card digits to, say, a vendor, gives the vendor the card digits and gets cash. So if you were to replace the card with, say, the e-Naira, that's basically what you would get. So if you were going to, say, send money from the US to Nigeria, you could go from the US, buy dollars and convert to e-Naira. And then you can then convert your e-Naira then back to what we call fiat currency, say the Naira. So the advantage is that you eliminate transaction cost and you get it instantly. So the Naira is going to be built on what they call the blockchain. So it's more transparent and all that. Faster, cheaper, so way better than just the fiat, i.e. the paper currency.
Now, do you envisage wider acceptance from Nigerians? Do you think this system of e-Naira will thrive in Nigeria?
Yes, because it's cheaper. There are no transaction costs at all. If you transferred money from, say, bank to bank, you would pay transaction cost. With the e-money, there is no e-Naira, there is no transaction cost. So that's a big advantage that they have for fiat. The bigger question is going to be, say, adaptability. Will we be able to transit, say, e-Naira from e-Naira to, say, e-dollars? That's going to be another question. But in terms of accessibility, because it's cheaper, yes. And of course, this is the first stage. Second stage is going to be you have other Nigerian players like the banks, then issuing their own coins to draw from the e-Naira. So I would say a good first step to have the regulator have a base product that we can then build on.
Now, what challenges do you think could come up, especially in the area of cybersecurity?
Well, it's so it's bits and all that. So that's a big problem that you could get your wallets hacked into, or you could get someone maybe issue a fake wallet and all that. But like I said, because it's built on the blockchain, it does make it harder to duplicate. It does make it a little bit harder, and you can trace it. So cryptocurrencies technically are not crypto. Your transactions are masked, but we still know who you are, i.e. you do a KYC. And the e-Naira has done a lot in KYC. Before you can get into the system, you have to pass through a lot of hurdles. So the CBN is hoping that would keep bad actors out, that we would know who and who is transacting funds, and then that should be able to keep people out and keep wallets a bit secure. But that's going to be the primary risk in the system.
Now, some Nigerians have reacted to the fact that the CBN decided to go for the fintech company Bit Inc. Instead of some of our local tech firms. What do you make of this?
I think it's a valid critic of the CBN. They want to grow the Naira, and the fintech in Nigeria as a subsector is the largest, I would say, in Africa. And it's homemade. I read a report, an IFC Google report that showed the bulk of the Nigerian fintech are home taught. They didn't go to school, but they've grown the skills and all that. We do have brands. You talk about Flutterwave and all that have been able to sell or get partners, international partners. I think we should have used them. Even if it's in a partnership or a consortium, there should have been a Nigerian element to it. So nothing stops the CBN saying you have to partner with a Nigerian fintech as a local partner, as a deployment manager, something like that. The Procurement Act does say that there should be a quote-unquote level of preference given to local service providers when we are bidding for government contracts. So I think maybe it was a miss that we didn't have a Nigerian in there somehow. no matter how good the foreign tech is, if they have a budding local industry, we should support them, especially the CBN should support them.
Now, what direct or indirect impacts do you think the introduction of e-Naira would have on the economy?
Well, like I said, the cost and the productivity you're going to see a big boost in productivity. So look at it. I like to give examples. If you go to Alaba, for instance, if you try to buy a television, 50,000, 100,000, 200,000, with the e-Naira, you don't have to call cash all around the place. And then you get instant credit. And this is the CBN basically giving you instant credit, more or less. So you're going to have accounting wise for the trade sector is going to be easier for them. Costs are reduced. They can get access to cash immediately. And it's a 24/7 market where you can transfer goods back and forth. You can also see we can do a swap deal where you can have you are transferring e-Naira to say e-yuan. So there's a lot of so we say linkages that can happen with this e-Naira. And this is what the future is. So I would say immediately you're going to see a productivity boost with the traders in Nigeria, and that would then translate to say a fall in the cost of doing business and maybe better security. You don't have cash all over the marketplace attracting bad actors.
Now, certainly, Nigeria is trying to, thrive in terms of technology and, other areas in tech development. Do you see a situation where this would make our tech space stronger and more efficient?
Yeah, precisely. I believe so. I think in Africa, I think Senegal has done this. I think Ghana is also trying to do an e-currency. So Nigeria, getting one out there before October, it's a big boost to the fintech, to the economy, also to the Naira and to the prestige per se. So net, it's a positive for Nigeria. No two ways about it. It's going to help in our trade. It's going to help in the ECOWAS now. There is a bit of a struggle in ECOWAS as per the currency to use as the global reserve currency in ECOWAS. This gives Nigeria a big boost. With the e-Naira, we have a big platform to say, let's use the e-Naira maybe as a settlement currency, even if it's for digital, even if it's for something like, say, air transportation. We can start with that. And Nigeria has a product that she can take to the table and can bid with that currency. So I would say, good job. I think we're on the right track to that.
Now, could you help us clarify what exactly is the difference between the e-Naira and the electronic money as you have it when you have money in your account and you can easily transfer to someone else? A couple of years ago, Nigeria grew stronger and more efficient in that aspect. But are there differences between these two?
In terms of the technology, so the e-Naira is simply Naira. You're moving Naira from, say, a bank account to the bank account using electronic means, right? But it's still the same Naira. The e-Naira itself is built on the blockchain. So the blockchain is the real game changer. So the blockchain itself is like the open ledger. So if I transfer money, we see it. You see it, I see it, everyone sees it. So it's harder to duplicate. It gives it a bit more certainty, a bit more security. So the e-Naira is a blockchain enabled. The money transfer we have in the past is simply Naira, normal fiat Naira being transferred across channels. So this is a bit more safer. Like I said, it's instantaneous. Because it's trackable, then you have no cost per se. You can move the money 24/7. You don't have to use SWIFT. Look at it that way. If you try to transfer money from, say, the US to Nigeria, you pay a very, very high fee because you're moving to Nigeria you're moving funds to Nigeria. With the e-Naira, those fees will be gone. So you can have more in terms of remittances coming back to Nigeria. It's not going to be e-transfer, but actually a blockchain transfer from, say, dollars to e-Naira and then to Naira and the CBN.
Now, finally, before I let you go, are you seeing the e-Naira playing any role in the African Free Trade Agreement, especially as we've seen that all countries are looking to exploit ways to ensure that their country takes full advantage of the benefits of the FCFTA?
That's my hope, that we would be strategic with the e-Naira. Like I said, start with ECOWAS, and we could make it very easy. We could say we're going to sell crude oil or settle airline transactions in e-Naira. Get it out there. Let it become the base blockchain currency out there. from ECOWAS, then go to Africa, and then say, okay, we can use the e-naira to do other transactions. But we have a product that we can just sell. You can lock it into, say, non-liquid. Nothing stops you from saying that non-liquid has to sell or export and receive payments in e-naira. It's a good way to tag and to give them more revenues. But let's try to get that out there so that it becomes the default currency that people can use. Once it's the default currency or the reserve currency, it does give you certain advantages, just like the US dollar has. So it's going to be, whoever gets that reserve currency status is going to be a benefit a lot, because then you would be the default swap partner with central banks across the world. So I will say get it out there, start from ECOWAS and try to push towards Africa.
Well, indeed, economic analyst Kalwaja, thank you so much for your time on the program.
You're welcome. Thank you.
We'll take a break here, and when we return, we'll take a look at Nigeria's trade deficit and what it means for the economy. Just stay with us.
Corruption not in my country.
Hello? Yeah, I found your wallet in front of a supermarket. Meet me at Apple Junction. Yes, I'll be waiting for you.
Now we find out. Two of us.
Thank you very much, officer. You know, it's surprising that men like you still exist in the police force.
Yes, so...
Oh, yes.
This is just a token of my appreciation.
Oh, no, you don't need to do this. We're only doing our job.
Thank you very much. God bless you.
You're welcome.
Now I know police is really my friend.
Yes.
Friend. Hey. Which came up with this one? I don't understand.
You know your problem. You are greedy. I'm a policeman who is doing his job. All forms of corruption in the force. Not in my country.
Corruption not in my country.
Welcome back. Latest data from the National Bureau of Statistics, NBS, indicates that Nigeria extended its negative trade balance in the first half of 2021 as its trade deficit surged to 5.81 trillion naira in the period. According to the report, Nigeria's total exported merchandise was valued at 7.99 trillion naira in the review period, opposed to a total import value of 13.8 trillion naira, indicating a trade balance of 5.81 trillion naira between January and June 2021. This comes on the back of recurrent trade deficits recorded in previous periods. However, this is by far the highest trade deficit recorded by Nigeria in any half-year period. Joining me to discuss this further is the former Director General of the Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Dr. Muda Yusuf. Thank you so much for your time. Nigeria extended its negative trade balance in the first quarter of 2021, basically recording a trade deficit of 5.81 trillion naira. How significant is this number really?
The number is significant, and it is also consistent with the trend that we have seen in the previous years. For instance, in the first half of 2020, we had a trade deficit of 2.25 trillion. In the second half of 2020, we had a trade deficit of 5.12 trillion. Now we are talking about the first half of 2021, a trade deficit of 5.81 trillion. So the trend has been fairly consistent, and it also continues to demonstrate the fact that the economy is still highly import dependent. We are not exporting enough, we are importing a lot, and that is what is contributing to the kind of unhealthy balance of trade position that we are seeing currently.
Now, a close look at the report shows that Nigeria's top export is petrol. Now, what difference will Dangote refinery and other rehabilitated refineries make in reducing Nigeria's petrol imports?
Well, generally, you know, trade balance or balance of payments is about import and export. And when we talk of balance of trade, we are talking mainly about merchandise trade. And what we are seeing in the Nigerian economy is that because of the weak productivity that we have, because of the challenges of production, because of the cost of production, competitiveness have been adversely affected over the years. And because we have serious competitiveness issues, we are not able to export. Apart from oil, I mean, if you look at our trade numbers, oil still accounts for close to 90% of our foreign exchange earnings. That speaks to the fact that in terms of manufacturing, agriculture, and other sectors, we are not very competitive. And that lack of competitiveness is also playing out in the fact that even things that we are not supposed to import, we continue to import them. So both on the export side and on the import side, the challenge of competitiveness is taking a toll on the economy. And for us to ensure a better or a healthier balance of trade position, we need to strengthen our capacity to export. And to do that, we need to scale up productivity. We also need to strengthen our capacity for import substitution, so that most of the things we currently import, we can substitute through local production. Now, coming to the issue of Dangote refinery, you are correct. Importation of petroleum products is the highest in terms of our bill for imports. And if we're able to get it right with regard to the refining of petroleum products domestically through the Dangote refinery, and in addition to that, the government is also taking some steps to fix the existing refineries. So if we're able to deal with the issue of fuel importation, that will bring a lot of improvement to our balance of payment position, because it will reduce the importation of petroleum products and the bill that, I mean, close to 30% of our import bill is accounted for by importation of petroleum products. And in addition to that, we also import a lot of petrochemical products, which many of our factories use. So if you have the refineries, fully in place, we see a reduction in the importation of petroleum products. We see a reduction in the importation of fertilizer. We see a reduction in the importation of petrochemical materials, most of which are used by our factories. In addition to that, we're also likely to see an improvement in our exports. So both on the export side, import substitution side, and the reduction in imports, I mean, we're likely to have a significant improvement in our balance of payment position when the Dangote refinery comes on stream, and when we're also able to fix our existing refineries.
Despite government's move to improve interborder trade activities, Nigeria's earnings from exports have continued to dwindle. Help shed light on this, please.
It's a question of productivity, because international trade is about competitiveness. If you are not producing competitively, you cannot benefit from international trade. If anything, what we will have is the reverse. In other words, we'll be having more of imports because the imports are cheaper. So the citizens will gravitate towards the imports. So it's a question of productivity. It's a question of reducing the cost of production, improving the quality of our products, making our products more competitive, creating a better environment for investors in the real sector and all of that. Those are the things that we need to do. If we're able to scale up our competitiveness, our productive capacity, then first we'll be able to export a lot more and do a lot more in the international trade arena. Secondly, we'll be able to import less, because what we currently import, if you can produce them competitively and cheaper, what is the point of importation? So it's a question of creating the environment to make the Nigerian economy, to make investors a lot more competitive than they are presently. That is the only way we can deal with it. And we have identified the key items of imports. We have talked about petroleum products, we talk about petrochemical products, we talk about some imported raw materials like food products, wheat, and the rest of them. We're able to invest a lot more to ensure that we're able to produce these things locally. I think that will go a long way in addressing the issue of the unhealthy balance of payment position. But you don't do that by just banning or restricting imports. You need to concentrate on productivity. on making sure that those who are producing domestically are able to produce competitively, cheaper, good quality, and good price. That is the way out.
Now, with Nigeria's weaknesses in trade balance, are we likely to see same underperformance in trade when Africa Free Trade Area Agreement kicks off finally?
Well, with regard to the AFCFTA, the issue is not with the AFCTA. The issue is with our own capacity to be able to compete. Now, AFCTA is going to collapse a lot of the barriers to trade. Goods will move in freely within the continent. And if that begins to happen, the risk that we face as a country is that we are likely to be more of a market destination than a destination for investment. Because if you are not able to compete very well with products that are produced in other parts of Africa, then what we are likely to see is that most of their imports will be flooding the Nigerian market. And our own products will not be able to compete in any of those countries. You cannot compare the quality of infrastructure we have in Nigeria with what we have in Egypt, for instance, with what we have in South Africa, Botswana, Algeria, and even in some parts of West African countries. So if our infrastructure situation remains what it is, then there's a very big risk that Nigeria will just be a destination, a market destination, rather than an investment destination, which will not be good for us, because what will happen is that goods produced in all these other countries will just overrun the Nigerian market. And our manufacturers will be the worst for it, particularly those of them that are in the smaller and medium enterprise category, because they have more challenges of competitiveness than the bigger ones.
But before I let you go, do you think government is doing enough in terms of policy and implementation to improve trade balance in Nigeria?
Well, the support that has been given to exports has been largely financial, incentives and all of that. That can only go so far, unless we deal with the fundamental issues affecting cost of production, particularly infrastructure. We are not likely to make much progress, because the challenges that the exporters are facing is not only about giving them incentives, export grants and all of that. It is also about the environment you create for them to produce competitively. It's about the environment you create for them to be able to export conveniently. I mean, you'll be shocked if you talk to exporters on what they are going through currently at the ports, having to export their products through the ports. It's a major problem. Some of their exports even go bad because of the long periods of having to get to the ports, loading onto the vessels and all of that, the bureaucracy, the extortion, the traffic gridlock. All those things are frustrating exporters. Secondly, most of these exports are also primary exports. You don't get much value from primary exports. You get a lot more value from value-added exports. That is when we have the primary products and we add value, we process. That is where the real business is. But right now, close to 80% of our exports outside of oil are primary. Even oil is also primary, because what we export is just crude. So we need to scale up the standard of export from primary production, primary exports, export of primary products to export of processed goods. But more importantly, is to create the environment to make sure that they're able to produce competitively by looking at issues of energy, issues of logistics, issues of taxation, issues of logistics at the ports, issues of the regulatory environment, issues of standards, issues of funding, the cost of fund and all of that. Those are the things, and these are not things you can fix within months or within a year or two. Some of them will take some time to fix. But in the long run, those are the things that we need to do to ensure that we're able to sustainably compete in terms of international trade, and therefore improve our balance of trade position, our balance of payment position, and also grow the economy.
Well, it's been a pleasure talking to you, Dr. Muda Yusuf, a former DG at the LCCI. Thank you so much for your contributions. We've reached the end of today's episode. Join me again next time. I am Fola Shadi Ogrinde. Bye for now.